Ma'am, are you still there?
No, I'm gone. I'm gone.
And Kabza.
Kabza.
Yes.
Government.
iPad. Say what?
Hello everyone and welcome back to the Eversense. Thank you so much for tuning into this very special video. Now, it's a very common misconception that people have when they say that it's a lion that does the hunting, which isn't true because it's actually the lioness that goes out into the wild and hunts for the pack. Now, you might be wondering why I chose this analogy, but I think it best describes our guest for today. Now, she is known as the people's lawyer, and she is most prominently known for rattling the government of Telangana. Now, please join me in giving her a very, very warm welcome. Ma'am, thank you so much for joining us today. Please give a very warm welcome to the one and the only Mrs. Rachna Reddy. Ma'am, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you. Thank you.
So ma'am, the first question that I have for you is this. You are a lawyer by profession. So according to you, how would you describe your day-to-day life as a lawyer in less than 10 words?
As a lawyer, in 10 words, count me in then. It is active. It is anxious. Anxious in a positive way because it is every day is unexpected. So active, anxious, unexpected, not routine, um, busy, uh, extremely well planned for the most of the time, taking care of my chores and my family and my son. As I'm doing all of this, meeting clients, completing drafts, and conducting hearings. So I think I've pretty much summed up all 10. So, yeah.
Mom, it sounds like you're very busy and it's a very interesting job to do as well. But your job especially is exceptionally interesting because while we were going through your profile, there was one point that popped up as very, very, exclusive of when we compared it to other lawyers. It was that in the Legislative Assembly, it is very rare that someone actually gets a mention from a minister or an MLA, but you, on the other hand, were taken by name by the Chief Minister himself, which is a very, very huge and interesting thing. And then, you are the people's lawyer, you fight for the people's rights, which is also something that's very incredible. So, I think this is one question that a lot of people from my generation have in common. Ma'am, like, what exactly happened? How did you make the chief minister so, I don't know.
Battle?
Yeah, actually.
I think, he obviously was rattled. I really don't believe that he meant to bring me up, as in name me, because I'm informed that a lot of the times legislators don't name civilians in the assembly. It's most of the time in debate, etc. So I was specifically named in a debate relating to land acquisition and the cases, the legal cases that were being fought by me on behalf of the farmers in the High Court. I am happy that I rattled him because of the fact that rattling someone vis-a-vis cases filed by you, vis-a-vis your profession, is a serious compliment, believe it or not. So yes, I'm happy I rattled him. I'm happy he was angry. But I guess that's because I was doing something obviously very right.
Well, ma'am, I have to admit that it must have been an incredible, milestone in your career, and it must have been encouraging for a lot of different lawyers out there that wanted to pursue justice. So, moving on to my next question, court proceedings are very long and, strenuous, and sometimes in the end, when the verdict comes out, sometimes many people believe that the verdict is actually in favor of people that have money, power, and connections. So, is there anything that the court and the law has in general that stops this from happening? And how often does that usually happen in the court of law?
Well, the court system itself is supposed to be absolutely unbiased and fair. I would say the most vulnerable sections of the society uh, everywhere still remain children first. They are the most vulnerable, and women. So these are the sections of the society most of the time. So here's my take on it. Most of the times, these are universally, these sections of the society are universally protected, or at least quote unquote, the governments and our government, national as well as state, tries to show that they are being protected. Where I don't see so much I mean, your question was about bias, fairness, and unfairness. Where I don't see so much activity, I would have to say, is where things are politically gray. And that's where you cannot really predict, or you cannot really vouch for, or quantify in any way how much the political executive has done, how much the administration is doing, or really how much the courts will do when it is a politically gray area. So, yeah.
Well, ma'am, that was very insightful. It's a very reassuring thing that the rights of the vulnerable groups in our country, to a certain extent, will always be protected. Now, as you rightfully said, children till date anywhere in the world are one of the most vulnerable groups. However, thankfully, our government does provide for the children in the form of the minor law. However, it's a sad thing to say the least that a lot of people don't know much about the minor law, even though it does protect the rights of children. Now, I tried searching about it on the internet, however, there was only a limited amount of information I could find. So, this is my next question for you. What exactly is the minor law, and how does it help a citizen, a child like me?
In a situation of danger, I mean, the minor law, the Juvenile Justice Act, is really to protect children. I mean, if you're even an hour under 18, or, barely under 18, to protect children, you would be considered a child if you're not 18, is to protect juveniles in arms, or who have been accused of XYZ crimes. After the Nirbhaya Act, where a juvenile was involved, there has been a cry across the country for harsher punishment for juveniles who are involved in extremely brutal, motivated, intentional crimes. So I think that was a welcome move, because again, it cannot be one sock or one glove fits all. Our criminal justice system, yes, it's one of the most strictest in the world, but it's also one of the most humane, at least as far as India is concerned. So we do give people a chance. We do give children, definitely children, more than what is given in other countries, a chance, even in spite of horrible, gruesome crimes. But then recently we have learned to draw a line where gruesome, horrible, intentional, and motivated violence is concerned.
Well, ma'am, let's move a bit forward towards your area of expertise, which is in land dealings. Now, a lot of people, due to, the cinema industry in general, they think that land dealings, land mongering, and land mafia is just something that happens naturally. But really, it's a very complicated network of things that is happening one after the other. So could you give us an insight about what the job is like and what kind of cases you have to deal with?
Most of my cases, of course, I have a lot of personal property cases as well, but most of my work centers around land acquisition by governments for alleged public purposes. So land acquisition is related to eminent domain, the concept of eminent domain, which has been crystallized a long time back across the international community, of course, which means that if governments of specific countries or at that point of time require land to build up infrastructure facilities or to further their economic and other development, then they have a right to, of course, acquire land by compensating to the owner of the land whose land they are seeking. The lands that are taken are extremely fertile agricultural lands that are well provided for, rain fed. Irrigation facilities also have been complied with, in future, in past projects, etc. And most of the times, these are lands belonging to people who would not have much of a say politically or otherwise. So, I question acquisitions in India per se. Procedurally, yes, in courts, but actively in whether that is actually needed. And if it is actually needed, after taking land from me, is it going to be used for that specific alleged project for which it was taken? Or whether it is going to be going off, I don't know, into some kind of a land bank and then sold by the government as government lands, etc. Because they are very capable of that, and the law is fluid enough, I would say, to allow them to do that as well. I definitely doubt government's intentions in our country.
The COVID-19 pandemic has thrown us into an unprecedented situation. Now unemployment is at a rise, and it's getting harder every single day to put food on the table, especially for some families that are used to living on day-to-day wages. Now, we've been hearing the story from ages of how if it's good, then stealing or robbery or theft or whatever you want to call it is clearly justified. And for the most part, it is, because if you're hungry, then to put food on the table, then you're going to have to do something, especially when it's your family on the line. Now, in the eyes of the law, what kind of action is taken against people who clearly do break the law but have justified reasons and motives?
No, I mean, our judiciary is very generous like that. I mean, in extreme situations, or rather, like I said, our criminal justice system is very, very based, and it revolves around an aspect called mens rea. Mens rea is what you would in regular English called intention, motive. So if your motive, or rather if you were driven or forced towards committing an act that would be in other circumstances considered criminal, I don't believe the criminal justice system is that inhuman to deal with it as a regular crime.
So ma'am, on the topic of human rights, in your tenure as a lawyer, you must have come across a lot of different cases with clear conflicts of interest. Now, my question is, there are a lot of laws that can be misused. For example, take the power of attorney. It's one of the widely most misused laws in a variety of systems, in my opinion. Now, while you or any lawyer in general is defending a client, now, as the case proceeds and more facts are revealed, in the case that the defendant or the lawyer defending the client finds out that the person they're defending is actually in the wrong, how does someone proceed in that kind of a situation in an orderly fashion? And what is the outcome of a situation like that?
Well, I mean, as in a litigation field, Nikhil, there is no real right and wrong. That's for the judge to decide. We have to, or rather, it is our bound duty. We are under oath to protect and defend our client, or or the version of our client to the best of our ability. Now, how it turns out, in the sense whether there is an actual abuse of misuse or abuse of power of attorney, etc., is what it's for the judge to decide. But we have to just thankfully take care of our clients' rights, and not really, I mean, I wouldn't say we don't think of the other person's rights as well, but our primary duty is towards our client. And I believe that most lawyers function on that belief, and try to do a job that they are capable of doing their best, based on that assertion. And it is the job of a lawyer. We are trained and taught, and we practice, and our experience revolves around how to best able our client with the existing laws, in order to enable him or her the comfort of a positive order in their favor. So there's real, I mean, we really don't look at the entire puzzle and decide, like, I'm going to be representing this client, but I'm going to see that that guy wins. It's never the case. In fact, it would be a violation of our obligation.
Day 2.
So now it's time for the rapid fire round, and today we have a lot of pretty different questions. So first of all, for us kids, we don't know what law is basically. So can you explain to us what the basic thing we need to know, the basic things of law?
Law is the evolution of society. Law is the embodiment of civilization, of human lives, and how human beings ought to treat each other and live in a civilized society, community, taking care of their families and of the society as well. So law is an embodiment, or I would say it's a symbol of the advancing civilization of a human being.
Okay, so the next question, why did you choose to become a lawyer?
I always wanted to be a lawyer, Vaishnavi. I mean, I hated math and science in school. Absolutely hate it even now. I can't look at numbers. But I loved English, elocution, drama, debates, social sciences, governments, and I really, really enjoyed politics and political activity in an academic sense, from really early in my school days. So yeah, and I always, I mean, subconsciously at first, but certainly consciously later on, wanted to be a lawyer.
Okay, so if not a lawyer, what would you be?
If not a lawyer, I would probably have become a journalist or a writer, something in between, or straddling them both. Maybe. I mean, I didn't have a second thing that I wanted to do, but probably.
So a normal person, if they have a problem, they normally go to a lawyer. So if a lawyer has a problem, who would they go to?
If a lawyer has a legal problem, they'd go to another lawyer. That's what doctors do as well. I mean, they don't self-medicate. They go to another doctor if they have medical problems. So I think, so I know that the same goes for lawyers. If they have a legal problem that is a personal legal problem, then they certainly go to their community, their fraternity, their friends, their colleagues, etc.
So there's like a group of lawyers, so they help each other. Okay.
Yes, certainly.
So these questions you have to answer with whatever comes to your mind first. So the first word is time.
I'm sorry, come
The
again?
first word is time.
Time?
Yes, time.
Work.
Okay. What about money?
Necessity.
Fame?
Fame, I would say byproduct.
Okay, what about justice?
Illusion, I hope it's more real.
Okay, blindfold.
Come again?
Blindfold.
Blindfold.
Yeah.
Justice.
Okay. What about criminals?
They have their reasons. Most of the
Okay.
time.
And kabza.
Kabza.
Yes.
Government.
Government. Okay, the last question we have for the rapid fire round today is, so you had a really busy day and you want to spend your time with someone. So who would you spend that time with? You know, and you want to relax.
My husband and son.
Oh, that's so sweet. Okay. So for the future generation of lawyers and us kids who want to become lawyers when we grow up, can you give us a few words of wisdom?
Just go for it. I'm not going to say just future generation of lawyers, but whoever want to do something, have dreams that they want to achieve, just go for it and be focused. I would say, sweating it out and hard work and everything. Yeah, I'm sure your teachers and your parents and your grandparents and everyone will say, but I would say work smart, be focused.
Yeah.
Do not forget to enjoy life, to smell the roses, to have fun along the way, because life is really very short. I mean, we think it's this long thing and we're going to do X, Y, Z and come back to A, but really it doesn't give us so many opportunities.
Okay, so that's the end of the rapid fire round. It was an absolute honor to have the rapid fire round
It was my
with you.
pleasure.
So thank you so much,
Bye.
Vaishnavi Guru from
Thank
the
you.
Eversense signing off.
Eventually.
Please sign and subscribe and hype share, because these kids are great. Thank you.